Okay, almost ready to go live. Bear with me. We're going to wait a couple more minutes. What time is it? 11:57, so that's 3 minutes. Bear with me. We'll be right back. Let's see here. So I'm using this new software, so I can't even really see who's on what, but we are streaming through LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, which is pretty cool. So that's great. Let's see. Join. All right. Let's see. I'm going to turn it on here. See how that's looking, first of all. Cool. All right. So we're in business. All right. I'm going to turn this off. And we will be getting started in now 2 minutes. Okay. All right. So funny thing happened to me on the way to the, no, I'm sorry, it's a bad joke. All right. So let's see. We have 1 more minute to go. And then we'll be in business. I'm trying to fill the time here because I did enter the studio. I did go live in case people are on board, but I don't want to have too much extra time on this. We're going to try to keep it within the 30 minutes. So anyway, that's my promise to you, and to make it fun, entertaining, enlightening, and to give you some action items to walk away with as well. So that's my plan, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to do a little journal. Got 1 minute to go. Let's see. Yeah, it's about time. So let's just see. Take a sip of wine. I was going to say, take a sip of wine. No, I'm not drinking wine. Take a sip of tea, just in case. Just in case anyone was doubting me there. Okay, 12 o'clock on the nose. Let's do this like a Swiss clock. So my name is Pete Grimes, and if you are here, it means a couple things. One, that you're a busy executive, of course, executive or entrepreneur, but also that you understand the importance of legacy and making an impact. But the busy, which I highlight in red there, has been kind of an obstacle for you. So I want to remove that obstacle because this can be done in just 6 weeks with a couple hours a week. And there are 2 routes, which I'll explain in a second. But, the questions that you may have, but I'm not a writer. I don't have time. I don't even know where to start. Those are the big dominoes that we're going to knock over today. So we're going to remove those roadblocks. At the end of this 30 minutes, you will have some clear action items of things you could do yourself. I'll even give you a gift at the end, which will make this easier for you. And if you need some help and you want to work with me, that's great too. But everything I share today will be actionable and hopefully very entertaining and enlightening and educational as well. Okay, so with that said, let's jump right into it. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hitting the wrong button. Now we're in business. This is where I wanted to start. Okay, so just a quick backstory on me. I am a best-selling author, C-level author right there. And there's an interesting backstory to that as well. I'll tell you in a second. But I've been in marketing my whole career throughout the world. You can see I've shown up on different media events. I've spoken on stages around the world, which has been really exciting. And that's the segue into this. How did I become a bestseller? And it's a bestseller in 7 out of 10 categories. Number 1, I put a screenshot on there. You can't see it, but it was a really exciting moment for me, actually. But that moment almost never happened. I was in one of these executive events, and one of the executives bounded off the stage, and she was so excited. I said, "You should do this full time." And she became depressed and asked her why. She said, "I'm not even sure where I could start." And she sauntered off to the bar, I think, to drown her sorrows. And it was then I realized, well, I have a background in marketing, and like an epiphany, I saw it very clearly. I had a system in place that I could create and use to help other people become published authors and share their message. Because to me, that's very important that this message is shared. Everyone has a story, everyone has an important message, and I'm on a mission to help people share that message. So kind of in a similar way, I went to go tell a friend of mine, hey, I'm so excited that I have this idea to help other people to publish their book. And her response to me, thank you, Trisha, was, but have you even written a book? And the answer was no. But why? Who's going to want to listen to me? Who's, all of these, all these obstacles. And I realized I was suffering the same thing, the imposter syndrome. Who'd want to listen to me? What do I have to say? And then I realized that I can't help other people get over that if I don't get over it myself, of course. So I had to drink the Kool-Aid. And I did, and I'm really glad I did, because the book would never have made bestseller. And it's that system that I put in place that I'm sharing with you today. And so that's what you could see there. So as you can see, it's work hard, play hard. But in addition to that, with a purpose, I very family oriented. It's a picture of my daughter and my wife celebrating our wedding. More recently, I was picked up for a TV series called Legacy Makers, because they were really excited about my mission. They really connected with me trying to help other people get their message out and making an impact. So this was Monday, in fact, where we were in the studio. This is just before I was filming. Really exciting moment. And that's enough of the backstory. You're not here to listen to me. You're here to find out why most executives struggle with authority. And I don't mean struggle with authority in the sense that they're rebellious, but yes, in the sense that you're probably revolutionary, right? So trying to change things. And you have a vision for how things can be better. And that's what excites me. And I want to help you do that. Okay. So good. How does this work? Well, first we have to talk about the elephant in the room. What holds most executives back from this true thought leadership? And a lot of it's because they're relying on social media and networking. So you're not an influencer. You don't want to be there all day long, posting on social media, drive yourself crazy, right? And really no time for that anyway. Speaking at industry events is a struggle as well. I've been there, I've seen it. You don't want to be that typical thought leader that goes and whips open a PowerPoint, speaks to the audience, and goes from one hotel ballroom to the next without really leaving an impact, because even the best speakers are forgotten unless they have something tangible and their message is very clear. So that is one of the other problems. The last problem we're going to talk about today is trying to personal brand yourself and not seeing traction. And one of the things I'm going to speak about is why this is really just for influencers, and why personal branding may be a misnomer as well, okay? So that's my goal for you today. If we could eliminate these problems, you're going to be halfway on your way. So now, the fastest path to true thought leadership, and every CEO knows this, an entrepreneur, they have a tangible asset. They don't have to spend years building their personal brand as an influencer does, and looking for vanity statistics every day and worrying about the vanity statistics, They're looking for something more impactful, something that will endure, will live long beyond them, okay? So when you do this, when you write your book, the world literally shrinks for you and the opportunities grow. A friend of mine who I supported in writing his book, just moral support more than anything, he said the very same week he published his book, he had invites from France to go speak at an event there. That's amazing. So that's the power of having a book and creating your level of authority. Coincidentally, that thing's in France. That's not my friend. He's much bigger than that, just in case you don't know. But there's a system that everyone has, and I improve that. And I'll be talking to you about that in a second. But let's just take a step back. We've all seen these books, right? We've all read them as well. I have. We've learned from them as well. But have you ever read a book and said that's great, but I have my own ideas? Fantastic. So that's what I was hoping to hear. And that means you're in the right place. One thing I want to clarify too is that you don't have to wait for a publishing deal to do that. I didn't. These other people may have. Stephen King obviously doesn't have a problem with that. He could pick up the phone and get published tomorrow. But our priorities are different, and I'll explain more about that in a second, but you don't need to have the KPI record sales. It really is potentially the best business card you could ever have in your career. And if nothing else, a family heirloom and a personal milestone, okay? So these are some of the reasons why you would want to do that. And we're going to talk about how it can help you. In this eye chart, I'm sorry, it's the only eye chart here, but it's the 3 pillars. You could be considering authority, positioning, legacy and influence, or monetization and growth. Within authority, you want to become the go-to expert. And once you do, your book's going to make it, much more likely that you land these speaking gigs, as my friend did in France. And your expertise becomes tangible, unlike a reel in social media that kind of gets buried after all. You have a tangible book. And as it relates to legacy and influence, your knowledge lives on. Like, you have this written in stone, carved in stone, and it'll be there forever, right? And that's really exciting. One as well is that it becomes a playbook for your industry, for you as a mentor, for your team, for the leaders of the future. I'm going to explain why that's so important, but that's, solidifying your insights and carving your space out in this industry. So, and lastly, monetizations. I tell my students that don't focus so much on making money on this. Why? Because it's the opportunities that it creates. Your book, more than a revenue generator at the front end, everyone talks about how much it was a revenue generator throughout their business. Someone I know said that they have a sales funnel, and that when people read the book and they come into the funnel and they go to the sales call, they're much more likely to buy into it because they've already bought into the story. And I think that's really exciting. And of course, you can leverage your book for career growth, speaking in board gigs, getting on an advisory board of some kind or a paid board, consulting, of course. And as I mentioned earlier, finding high value clients, because those clients are the ones that are going to read your book and going to be very motivated. Okay. So in short, your book is an asset, and it is also a personal achievement. So if you're wondering which of these pillars of opportunity is most important for you, the good news is you don't have to choose, because really it's part of an ecosystem. And what the system I create as Legacy Thought Leadership is that it all feeds off of each other, right? So once you have your book, it doesn't mean you don't do content marketing. It doesn't mean you don't do social media, but it amplifies that, right? It's a part of a system we go through. So it's the easiest way to become an author. Step one. Then you want to expand your impact, right? And I clarify that, and I mentioned this earlier, your personal brand may be a misnomer. And if that makes you uncomfortable to talk about personal brand, as I hear that a lot, scratch out brand, say personal impact. I'm focused on my personal impact, not my personal brand. And that's what the system does for you too. And then it strengthens your legacy. So people talk about financial planning, investment planning. How about legacy planning? How about not leaving to chance what you want people to know about your life? You want people to learn about your life. So this is part of it as well. You can leave it to chance, or you can manage it yourself, okay? So that's important. Now, next, once you do that, as I mentioned, it's all part of a strategy. It's going to help you knock down those other, players in your field, or knock down those other chess pieces in your strategy easily, because we do knowledge extraction. What that means is that we interview you, we pull out these stories, these anecdotes, these gold nuggets. We put them together into an outline, and that's a rapid asset creation. So we put in an outline, get you to speak your book into existence, get it edited and polished up so you have a smoking hot manuscript, and then design it and everything else so it's ready to go for greater visibility and to amplify your authority. So that's the exciting part. So leveraging your book to increase your impact in your industry and in your community, because this doesn't only go to business leaders, it can go to college coaches and whatnot. I have a student right now who's writing a book on how he sees what's wrong in the athletic coaching space, focusing too much on, I don't want to give away his book, but he has a different twist to that right now, and he has a calling to get his book out, right? So that's it. If you see that you have a different twist on things, that's your calling, and that's why you need to write your book, okay? Next, my gift to you, I told you I wanted to provide you something that you could use that could kind of get you started. And this is it. There's a cool little QR code there if you're interested. Snap a picture. It'll take you directly to a website where you can download my ebook there, the Busy Executive's Quick Start Guide to Writing a Book. And in this, you can overcome imposter syndrome, writer's block, and analysis paralysis, which leaves so many people on the sidelines. And so what I'm trying to do, and any entrepreneur who's worth his weight in gold is doing, is trying to figure out what's stopping people, and then figuring out a solution. And I know that imposter syndrome is one of them. We all know that writer's block is another one. Analysis paralysis is terrible as well. So what this does is that it walks you through these exercises where, one, you clarify your message. You've had these conversations with people on your team for years, right? People coming to you for advice. So if you play those conversations in your head, it's going to remind you of how you've been able to impact people and how good that felt for them. And as importantly, how good that felt for you. So that's the first part of this exercise. And then I show you in this book is how you speak your book into existence. So there's no writer's block. There's no staring at a blank page and wondering what's next, watching a little cursor blink a little bit, it'll drive you crazy, right? And then there's no analysis paralysis, because quickly you start working on your outline. Once you have an outline, it's like a map. So it's, you get in your car, you're ready to go. Where do I go? You need a map. You need GPS. This outline acts as that. You can sit down, you're ready to speak your book into existence. You want to go from point A to point B. The fastest way to avoid pitfalls, traffic congestion in your head or anything else, is to have a smoking hot outline. And so that's what I put together, what we put together for our students, and what you can do as well. Okay, so these are just little tips to help you get out the sidelines and onto the field to let your message be heard, because that's really my goal. Next, the real question is, so why even do this? It's like so much more comfortable to sit back, right? It's really getting out of your comfort zone to go reveal your thoughts and put yourself out there. And it's difficult. I know that. Yeah, I lived that myself. If not for my friend giving me a kick in my tail end to push me to do that, I wouldn't have done it as well, because I was scared to go out there. I didn't know who would want to even listen to me or read my book. And I'm glad she did, because apparently there are enough people who did to make it a bestseller. Thank you. Some of you are on this call, so I really appreciate that. We're streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I really appreciate you guys, so thank you for that. But the question is, why do this? And I want to ask you another question. So if you've been asking yourself, what's next? What's next? What's after this? Where am I going to go from here? Much like this executive I spoke to you about at the very beginning, who bounded off the stage, and I said, you should do this full time. And they didn't know what was next. They didn't even know how to do that. They're wondering how to find some purpose in the next level of their life. And if this is you, this is a good idea. Why? Because like I like to say, it's better than a psychologist for your mental health. It's healthier than drinking, of course. And it's a lot faster than the struggling author approach. Everyone has this image of Hemingway and, the struggling author who was suicidal, alcoholic, aggressive and suffering. This could be done in a matter of hours, literally. That interview process is anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, broken up over 2 days, 2 to 3 hours a day, of course. Not a math whiz, but you figured that out as well. And lastly, Maslow would approve. And what do I mean by that? If anyone knows what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is, it's like once you've had all of your other base needs taken care of, up at the top of that pyramid is self-realization, self-actualization. So if you're feeling right now that your kids are through school, your mortgage is looking good, your career has been solid, and you're wondering what your next step is, this is it, right? And that would make Maslow very happy that you did that, because that's the self-realization, giving back to somebody else, okay? This information is gold, and like gold, you can't take it with you when you leave here, right? So it's good to invest it in people. And so what happens when you do that is the next question. Oh, sorry. The next question is this. And so now we understand why to do that. And in addition to that, it's really simple. Okay. So one of my students, clients, whatever, even friends, is a 75-year-old former CEO of a global philanthropic charity organization. They build schools, hospital, houses, dams all around the world. Okay. Libraries. And he wrote his book, traveling in a caravan with his wife in the Australian outback, using WhatsApp and sending me little audio files, and I'm sewing together to put into his book. But his idea is that it's the reason for him doing it, his purpose is that, one, he wanted to leave a playbook for the people still in his organization, which lasts today, delivering better lives. And so they have a playbook to move forward in the future, so they could learn from how he and his other founders put this together. In addition, just because he has that charity mindset, that giving mindset, he would like other people to learn from his success as well. And his idea is that you don't have to wait to get into the game. Just the world needs your help. Here's the playbook to start helping today. And a couple other things. This book is going to be a playbook for the other people they hire or volunteer afterwards. And lastly, it's great for generating donations for fundraisers. They'll have a book. People will be able to get that book if they donate a certain amount of money. It's better than a coffee mug, right, that you may get for your other donations. So that's a reason. Also in my class right now, we have chief data officers. We have sales executives. We have marketing executives. So it's multi-purpose in that sense. Well, it doesn't matter what area you're in, you have a message to share. You have a playbook that's going to help the other leaders of the future. Okay, so that's key. And so when you have really two paths to do that, and that one is, if you choose to do it with me, and one is Legacy Thought Leadership Accelerator, and that's a premium blueprint, and you literally speak your book into existence. It's interview to publication. It's one interview with me, sit down, I take that audio files, and I edit it, publish it, design it, and from that you get your own published book online or wherever you want to put it. It's really easy. So it's like interview to publication. Easy for those super busy executives. However, there are other executives who want to learn the tricks of the trade. And I put here someone fencing, because if you really want to know the skill and the art form and be able to do this later and duel later with the market or the changing market, changing economy, changing technology, you'll have learned the skill sets to do it yourself. So you have those two options. Both of them take 6 weeks. 6 weeks start to finish for the premium version. The group version is done really with the book in 6 weeks, but in week 7, we talk about how to strategize your launch for greater impact. And in week 8, we talk about what happens after your book. Once you have your book in your hand, how do you use it as a promotional machine, as an impact machine? So that's the most important thing there. So your next step really is to decide, do you want to do this? And so if you could download that blueprint and do it yourself, or if you need some brainstorming, you could reach out to me, because I'm more than happy to do this. You could see I'm really enthusiastic about this. I'd love to get on a call with you, show you, do some brainstorming, personalize it's a personalized session. We'll identify your message, your expertise. What is that playbook you could give to the world? And then map out what would that look like? How would their lives change after that? And how would your life change after that? Because it's really about impact, right? That's the most important thing that we're talking about here. So, I mentioned impact a couple of times. I love this picture here because some of us question, what are we going to leave behind? Are there footsteps in the sand, or are we going to leave something that's carved in stone, etched in stone? So I really want to make sure that if you're willing, you have an opportunity to etch it in stone, to carve it in stone, rather than to leave it up to the winds of time, right? Not to sound too poetic, but legacy thought leadership is about the easiest way to become an author, as I mentioned earlier. Then using that to expand your impact, not your brand, the impact, how many lives you could change. right? And by doing that, you're teaching the leaders of the future, and those leaders will teach other leaders, and those leaders will teach other leaders. So your tree, so to speak, of impact will grow and continue to grow, right? Just like our ancestors and our parents have impacted us and we impact other people. This is the tree of life. And again, I said I wasn't going to get too poetic or dramatic, but this is the idea. If you want to create this ripple effect so that your impact grows exponentially, I firmly believe that this is one of the best ways to do it. Become an author, you expand your impact, and you strengthen your legacy that way. And as I mentioned earlier, don't leave your legacy up to chance. If you're not sure what they'll say about you after you're gone, the best way to change that is to write that story yourself, okay? And so this is the last shot here. Just wanted to provide you with a QR code. You could scan this, you know how a QR code works, but this is if you want to take that brainstorming session, totally free, no commitments. From this, it can literally be life-changing. You'll be closer to writing your book, whether you do that with me or on your own. Frankly, the difference is that a lot of people who I speak to say that they've been trying to write this book for months, years. They have an outline, they have first chapters, and that's where it stands. That to me is heartbreaking, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So if you really want to have your book out on the streets, out in the world in a matter of weeks rather than months or years, please give me a call. Please take me up on this offer to do your strategy session. I enjoy it. I'm convinced you will too. And that's it. So with that, inside of my 30-minute window, I have really nothing else. This format is strange because I can't do Q&A. I'll do another session later where there's room for Q&A, but I just wanted to share this with you today, give you some food for thought. Scan this QR code, come reach out to me. I'll also put it into the description as well, but for the quick start guide for the busy executive to write a book, as long as for the strategy session, both of these tools are going to be very helpful for you. Please don't stay on the sidelines, share your message. With that, happy Friday to you, and thank you for being here. Take care.